Hello, welcome, greetings everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here at the Bard Inn. I'm your host, Phil Rice. Just so pleased that you're here. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching this live, awesome. Great to see you guys. I appreciate you being here, playing around with time zones here. And if you're watching the replay, your presence is just as appreciated. Thank you so much. And yeah, wow, far out. It's been a little while. Well, apart from the one we did yesterday, this morning. But, for those of you that are maybe joining for the first time, this is designed to be a very interactive live stream. And so, one thing I'll say first of all is that, we're going to have some questions and some talking points, related to the topics. And so, by all means, please enter your questions into the live stream chat here on YouTube, and we'll get to them as we move through. But ideally, the purpose of this is to help you and take your questions, and we'll do our very best. I have an incredible lineup of guests once again here. I'm truly blessed to be able to bring these wonderful people together to bring some light to your questions and queries. And this is such a great opportunity to find clarity and to get a multiple of perspectives and angles on your progress on your path. And so please take full advantage of this opportunity. Thank you for joining us. What I'll do is that I'm just going to take you guys through a little bit of what's going on here. So we'll just bring up the screen share here. All right, so for those of you, I didn't make it. That's okay. For those of you who've been following the channel for a while, so I've got my Phil Rice channel, which is what you're watching this here on YouTube. I have just created a brand new channel called The Bard Inn, and that will be where I'm going to migrate all of the guest content from my main channel, and I'm going to put it on here. There's a bit of a project that I'm undertaking, which is to repurpose a lot of the previous material, remaster it with the new softwares and technologies that I've got, and repackage it. And so we want to create a steady flow of these many nuggets of wisdom and experience, the knowledge base of the wonderful people that we've had here, and continue to do so. And we want to have that as a regular feed in your YouTube app, so that you'll have inspiration and encouragement and points of view to sort of help feed your path. And we want to leverage this platform as much as possible to get these teachings out into the world. And so you can go to at the Bard Inn on YouTube, and there's no content on there apart from that one little post here. Thank you to the AI that put that together. But essentially, there's a fair bit of work involved, and this is a long-term project, and I'm really looking forward to working my way through this, because it will be very much worthwhile. And so any appreciation is appreciated. And there are some ways that you can support it. There's a Ko-fi there. You can drop me in a coffee or whatever, and that all helps with the things like paying for the software and the time involved, and that any assistance is greatly appreciated. And so worth subscribing now as soon as you can, because when stuff comes out, you'll start getting it. Now, of course, there is also, you can get the same material at the philricesubstack.com, and you can get this into your email inbox straight away. And there's a whole bunch of stuff on here at the moment. There's lots of stuff going on in here. I've got articles and conversations, and there's just lots going on. And we've got a bit of fun going on here too. So I won't give too much away on that. But if you go to the Bard Inn, to philrice.substack.com, you can get the skinny and the lowdown and what's happening. All right. But anyway, I think that's about it. Don't forget too that as we move through, there's links in the description below here on YouTube, so you can go and connect with the various guests directly. And there is many wonderful offerings available. And without further ado, I'm going to start bringing in our wonderful guests, because for some it's very early and some it's very late, and there's so much to share here. So let's get cracking. Where am I? Okay, so first of all, I'm going to bring in a guest who has not appeared on the Bard Inn as yet, and so this is a great pleasure and an honor to finally have the one, the only Mr. Jake Sen from Mystery College. Hello, Jake. How are you, brother? Thanks for coming on.
Great to see you, Phil. Great to see you.
You know, I've been really looking forward to this. You're a super busy guy. You're spinning so many plates, and it's such a pleasure and a pleasure to have you here. You know, like we've done some things in the past, many moons ago, and to have this opportunity for the public to interact with you and to be here to share this with you too. And I'm very grateful for this. Thank you. And I'm just going to do a quick shout out to your awesome website here. And so this is mysterycollege.com. And so everyone, you want to go check this out. Jake's got all of his courses and things available. Jake, do you want to give us a lowdown on what you've been up to and what's been happening? And is there anything you'd like to point out about the website currently or any of your offerings?
Yeah, Phil, your microphone's like a little bit muffled for some reason.
Okay, is that better?
Oh, that's much better.
All right, there I am. Okay, so
I
yeah,
thought
if
it
you
was just me. Someone commented.
awesome. Okay, all right. Well, I won't repeat all that again, but what I'll say is thank you, everyone. It's wonderful to see you all. I'm here with the wonderful Jake Sen from Mystery College. Jake, what's been happening? What's going on? And what's on offer, brother? Because you're a busy man and you're doing a lot of good work and putting a lot of great stuff out into the world. So please.
Yeah, so my most recent projects have been to go through my course content, compile it, like compile the transcripts, and then try to distill the best insights using AI and collecting, gathering, and figuring out how I can look at repurpose things in simpler, more accessible formats for Instagram, YouTube Shorts, TikTok.
Mm,
So that's been my more recent project. Is like really figuring out how to distill some of these things that we work through in the Franz Barden system or in other type of meditative spiritual practices and making it a bit more accessible, a little more integrative. Because like for me, when I first got started out with this process of, you know, learning Barden's work, I was very confused by a lot of terms and terminology. And sometimes I felt like I was spinning my wheels with things. So I have the privilege of having lots of great friends in the community, having mentors, teachers, friends who really helped me have a lot of breakthroughs and a lot of aha moments. So that's why I originally made all these courses was because I know what it's like to like be like 18 years old and wishing I had all this information right here. So that's why I created these courses to make these things accessible, have like energy transmissions,
mm.
and my courses have you like go through it each step of the way, where I take you through every single exercise and the Franz Barnes tasks, and we do them together.
Wonderful. Yeah, I love hearing about, you getting involved in the various forms of social media dissemination because I found personally that the skills that you learn through going through that process highly valuable and they translate and transfer across to other skill sets that I've found to be of use even in meditation in a sense too. And sometimes when you're dealing with tech, patience is certainly a virtue. So this is fantastic, and there's obviously a large body of information here. So, thank you so much, Jake. I'm going to bring on our next guest. I'm going to bring on James from Perseus Arcane Academy. James, how art thou, brother?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Phil. I'm
Great to
well.
see. I'm so pleased that you're here, sir. You know, we catch up a bit, so I'm sure most of the audience know you pretty well. And so, what I love to hear is that can you give me the 2 minute skinny version of what's happening in Perseus land?
Yep, the latest is we've just released the first of a new curriculum in North European shamanism. This is from George. He's new on the site, and you can find his course there in the magical section. Um, There it is. And this is the first of several where he goes into deeply into the North European tradition. Um, he introduces it in that video there, and this is, I hope, going to bring more people into, because this all stems. His tradition comes from the Sami mystics who are, Siberia, and they moved across Russia, across the land bridge into, the North Americas. So there's a lot there. There's a lot to unpack. So this is the first step in that curriculum. Also, we have coming, it was supposed to come last week, but it didn't, is another course from Peter, who Meta Magic Peter, absolute genius. And he has a new way of looking at things. I won't ruin it, but basically it's using the latest NASA data.
Oh, really?
It's using, yeah, it's epic. It's using the latest NASA data, his approach to astral travel, and the foundation of his meta magic curriculum. So that's coming probably this week, coming if I can get it done, if not the following week. We also just had the new interview with Liam on my YouTube channel, the Perseus YouTube channel, the author of the very well known Kabbalah book, which was really cool to do because a lot of that stuff I have no idea about. So he's talking about things that I've just heard in reference or in books before. Yeah, I think it's in there somewhere if you scroll down. Da, 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 da. There it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great
So that was a
conversation too.
wonderful chat. Yeah, good chat. Lovely person. Well worth a listen. He talks about, as I say, lots of things that I've heard of before and have a slight reference to in my training, but he comes at it with what felt to me like a fresh perspective. So well worth listening to Liam and also checking out his own YouTube channel because he has loads of really, really good videos on it.
He's excellent, actually. I really enjoy listening to Liam. That was a great conversation, actually, about 3/4 of the way through, so I look forward to the rest of it. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much
Phil.
for that, sir. It's great to have you here, James, but I'm presuming everything else in the world is going great?
All is good. I've had coffee. The dog's been fed. We're all good. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. All right, then. Well, I'm going to bring in our last venerable, honourable guest, Mr. David Coleman. David, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm fine. How are you? Thanks for having me on again.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, sir. How are you doing? What's been happening?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm just very busy at the moment. I'm currently expanding a lot of my services that I've been sticking to for quite a number of years and decided to sort of upgrade them and get into video meeting my patrons. So I've been busy this year with doing that every Sunday night, which has been fun. So we've been doing some new workshops together that I've devised, basically exploring some of the things that I've written about online and in my book. And there's also a nice kind of Barden community growing there from my Patreon groups now, where I'm meeting up to 8. I've currently got 3 in that group, but I can take up to 8 people in that group for private tuition every month, guiding them through Barden exercises and how to apply astrology to them. And finding that's just like so much fun. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm expanding all of that. Like my contact with my audience basically is going through a kind of change this year, which has been planned for a while. So I'm busy with that. Thanks for asking. And yeah, come along because the lowest tier is like €5, $5 a month, and for that you get to meet me on a Sunday night, one night, Sunday night my time, for an hour, and you can get to ask me anything, and that's basically where what I'm doing tonight and where I'm finding a lot of the most fun is happening because the group is turning up and then they're just asking questions and it's just a random surprise sort of journey as to what will come up. And so that's meeting tonight. That's the Astral Circle meeting tonight. So you get to come and join that for just like $5 a month, and you can try it for yourself and then just leave if you don't like it. So you won't really lose much money from seeing what goes on there. But that's what I recommend if you want to come and meet me, right? And you want to talk about something more specific than we get to talk about in these talks online. So that's what I'm.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, this is it, right? So access to people who've got tenure. Sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's
Okay.
it, yeah.
Sweet. Sorry, I heard a thing in my ear there. Yeah, wonderful, David. You're absolutely right. I mean, this is, like I said, this sort of live stream situation here is a great way to sort of get an overview of, the work that all the teachers are able to provide. But then, we want to encourage people, if you feel yourself connecting with any of the teachers here, this is a great way you can find them and connect with them directly. And David, I mean, I actually went in and checked out because I saw you were advertising the Patreon. I was like, oh man, you put a lot of work into this, man. It looks fantastic.
Yeah,
So kudos to you, brother.
thanks. Yeah, it's been something I've been working on for a couple of years before I felt ready with it. So I've got a lot of material.
Oh, have you what? Just if anyone, it's not this website, but I think, is it Journeys? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is where you find all the collections of my articles that I've written over the last 13 years or so online, collected together in a kind of like little archive. It's free to read. Just go there, pick a subject. I've put some categories out there for you that you can see now on your screen that you can learn about, and it covers magic, Barden initiation, and astrology. All of them, my stuff basically is there.
Fantastic. Yeah, between us all, we've got a fair amount of stuff out there, but like there's take your pick, guys. If you like to read, if you like to watch, if you like to listen, there is a plethora of things out there to help you on this path. And David's been doing this for a long time, and we're very blessed to have him in the mix here. So thank you once again, David. Now, I did ask David if he was open to the idea of maybe sharing some insights. He's obviously a well-known and well-accomplished astrologer, and prolific. So, David, are you feeling it? Are you feeling like a share of some sorts about what the weather's doing?
Yeah, I will. I'll give you an update from what I said last time. Thinking back, right? The last time I was on here, I gave you a little preview of what I thought was coming, and it's pretty much been what I thought. Last year, 2025, was quite different. 2025, the Sky story was really about transition. We were caught between old patterns and new patterns, and not really with the new patterns, and not really done with the old patterns. And so we were kind of trapped in between an old world situation and a new world situation, which wasn't yet fully clear, right? And and now in 2026, we are transitioning now, almost fully transitioned. There's just a little bit left to go in the Sky, into the new pattern. And I think you already see that in world events, that we are looking at a new world situation, like a complete restructuring of the way that we think of the world and the way the world operates is underway and is about to really develop and show itself in more full form as the next couple of years go by. So we're looking at a changed world by the end of this year, and certainly by the end of 2027, and the changes won't be trivial. And they will be they will be hard.
This is this rapidly accelerating change that's very. I mean, we were talking about some AI prior to going live here, and just anyone that's got their finger on the pulse of that, there's just. I mean, James and I talked about this in our podcast on my Substack about some of the things that are going on, and it's exciting and scary and terrifying at all at the same time. And everyone's got ideas that can now be coupled to this hyper acceleration technology, basically, and it can go off in any which way, and all these new ideas come. It's just I mean, that's just one piece of the puzzle. I mean, David's talking about, there's the world is. You're right. I mean, far out. I wouldn't even know where to start with it. I mean, it's such a complex weave. But thank you for that. Well, gentlemen, shall we begin? Okay.
Yeah, questions for David now.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, if you have any takes on like alien disclosure or any other kind of curious worldly events that may occur.
Come on, then. If you're up for it, David.
Yes, it's coming. It's coming. And you better all be prepared, because it's old news, isn't it, that there are aliens?
Yeah.
We've all seen E.T., Close Encounter, all the films, right? We've all been like prepared, right? Let's put it that way. We're all prepared to the fact that we're not alone, but it's what comes with it that we're not prepared for.
Mm. Mm.
Prepare your consciousness, prepare your uh, to open your mind as it's never been opened before by what's
I
about to
see.
happen. But there's also there's an apocalypse that comes with that, right? And I want to differentiate there between an apocalypse and an Armageddon. An Armageddon is an absolute wipeout where everything is destroyed, but an apocalypse is a revelation, and it's a tearing down of the veil. And
Mm.
so that's what we're facing, and the geopolitical implications of that are enormous. That's what's going to be difficult. And we're also looking at a situation where America is going to enter into, well, I've been saying this for 10 or 15 years, all right? And astrologers, I'm not alone with it. Astrologers have, like, across the board have been saying the same thing, predicting the same thing. Middle of the 2020s, they said, America goes away as we know it, goes through some sort of mutation or transformation, doesn't reemerge from that until the early 2030s. And it involves getting into a war that's long and protracted, either with an external enemy or within itself, or
Mm.
both. And we've never had that happen before. It's happened 3 times before in history since America was born. So the first time was when it was created, which was the War for Independence from Europe. Then after that, there was the Civil War, 84 years later. This is an 84-year cycle astrologically. Then there's the Civil War, where they're fighting amongst themselves. Then there's World War II, which was the last instance of it, by the way, when they entered into the war after Pearl Harbor. All of these coincide with Uranus in Gemini, and Uranus just popped into Gemini. So it literally means that we're looking at a repeat of that pattern in American history, which means America goes away for about 7 years and figures out who it is now. And we already see that clearly on the cards.
Mm.
That's the big problem that we're all facing. It's like, how do we deal with that? What happens?
That figures why I'm on this call with you guys. So I can hear that.
Yeah, sorry, it's not light-hearted news, but it's not my duty to tell you or sugar the pill, right? It's my duty
Mm.
to just tell you what is there and what we're facing,
Mm.
and encourage us to make the most of it, see the positive in it. Okay. Oh, you're muted, Phil.
There was a couple of particular tells for me. I mean, for starters, you've got the government purchasing the aliens.gov, domain. And then, of course, you've got Steven Spielberg dropping Disclosure Day this year. I mean, the fact
The
that, I
most
mean,
rushed movie in history, probably. The most hurried, rushed, like big summer movie in history.
yeah.
Mm.
So it's like, they call him in for these big ones, right? And he's done a few in the past, but this is literally like Disclosure Day. It's not Independence Day, and it's not anything. It's Disclosure Day. It's like D-Day. It's D-Day, and it's always interesting to see what their take is on this and how they depict the visitors, because in recent years we've seen this kind of push towards depicting them as almost like a type of a threat. And I feel that the tech is available for some kind of maybe like a controlled release of the information to paint the thing in a certain way. And yeah, I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen, right? And so what do you do in uncertainty? It's like, well, what's the available certainty? And stock up on food, get everything that you need. Can you live off the grid for 30 days? That's a good question. Have a think about that one. These are all valuable contemplations. So, yeah, it's exciting, but it's terrifying as heck. So, anyway, does anyone else? Have we got someone in the chat wanting to drop something? Okay, here we go. All right, somebody's got a question. I think, David, this might be something here. Would building a base on the moon or Mars affect humanity on the astral level? If so, how?
Yes. but not probably in the way that people are thinking. Everything that we experience collectively affects us on the astral level. So when we first landed on the moon, that story came out, right, in the 60s, right? Everyone at least believed that we'd landed on the moon, and depending on what you believe, I don't know what you believe about that, but when we believed that collectively, that did affect us astrally, right? So astrally is just things that affect us astrally are just things that affect us personally and have a significance. So yes, people landing on the moon and living on the moon and growing up on the moon would affect us astrally. But beyond that, I think you're asking about whether it would affect us astrologically. And the answer is yes, because astrology is geocentric. It's based on people being born on the Earth. And although the moon goes round the Earth and you wouldn't actually fundamentally change the sky that much, you would have the Earth in the chart, right? The Earth would be somewhere in your chart,
Mm,
right? Um, and that changes things.
yeah, true. That's a good
Yeah,
So
point.
yeah,
these
yeah,
are questions
exactly.
for astrologers as we move out into space, right? I've written about this. These are the future astrology questions, right? But I have written about that. Yeah, go to the archive and just look up the future of astrology, and you'll read what I think about what that means when human beings go out and live on other planets far in the future, and they are born on other planets, and what that means for astrology. I've written about that already. So I direct you there rather than repeat that.
Yeah, no, awesome. Yeah, I mean, like it's already complex enough. Let's make it more complex. Yeah,
Mm,
far out. That's such an interesting contemplation too. Like, I mean, even someone in the White House cabinet was interviewed by someone and was on the press as well, and he basically did a dropped said, "Oh, we've got a soldier on the moon," you know,
Mm.
sort of thing. And so, this was like legit, right? And it's just like, and then that's the last you hear of it, but it's on record. And so, I mean, okay, sweet as. And then they've just done a flyby, and I've got to say those images are pretty good. Whatever we got, whatever we're allowed to see, because let's be fair, I didn't see no soldier on that on the moon there. So yeah, I'm like, well, you're saying this, but okay, well, where's okay, well, whatever. But anyways, all right. Thank you, Polarities T3M. Appreciate that. Okay, all right. Well, everyone in the chat, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here. Please drop your questions in, and we'll get to them in the next little while. But to start off, I've got a question that I'm actually surprised I haven't asked already. To be fair, and I thought, well, let's do this one. So I'm gonna start off with let's start off with David on this one. And David, I would love to hear, how did you discover the works of Franz Bardon?
okay, yeah. Well, my answer is pretty short, right? It was given to me by a friend. Hello, Ray. How are you doing? Thanks for everything you did for me. He gave me the German copy of Practice of Magical Evocation first. He had all three books in German when I came to visit him here in Berlin. And he literally, I wasn't like looking at the bookshelf myself at the time, and he literally got up and said, "Hey, this is a book that you need to see, David." And he pulled out the second book and gave it to me because I was really into both astrology and magic. And that was it. I then had to read the first, the second, and the third book, and then go through it. So, thanks, Ray.
Go Ray. Thanks, Ray. You did us all a favor, Ray. I appreciate you, Ray. But that's okay. Thank you for sharing that. James, what about yourself? How did you discover the works of Franz Bardon?
For me, it was a few months after I'd moved to Taiwan. So I was here looking for my rainbow body Jalu teacher, didn't find them. So I was looking around, searching, and people might remember back then, I think this channel's still up, there was a channel talking about magic and things, and it was 11 Forstia 11 was the username. And basically this guy was talking about the secrets and revealing the secrets, and on such a day he will reveal the book that he's talking about. And so I kind of followed the videos, and I was like, come on, tell us what it's about. So eventually it comes out that he's talking about Vardens. At that point, I was very much kind of like, oh, magic. Oh, was that all about power? And, is that probably the opposite of what I want to do? So even after getting the book, I sort of was umming and ahhing whether this should be the path or not. But yeah, it basically not very mysterious or anything like that. It was a YouTube channel that introduced me to this. And his channel was very interesting because he himself had previously gone off with magic, hence calling himself Forstier. And this was kind of like his redemption in introducing people to Barden's work. So that's how I found out.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, cool. I actually, I've never actually spoken to you about this, I don't think so. Okay, that's great. Okay, Mr. Jake, how about yourself? How did you discover the works of Franz Barden?
So I first came across his name when I was on this forum called evocationmagic.com, which later turned into a site called like studioarcanus.com. But I think it got like a lot of trolls harassing them, so they shut it down or something. But yeah, so basically on that forum, they had all these different layers. They had all these different subforums for different topics, right? And then I saw this guy, Franz Barden, and I thought, oh, there's like every other person, it was like oh, this is hoodoo, this is Western ceremonial magic, oh, this is Enochian. So like, they all have different forms, but then, oh, this one has a name of a guy on it. Oh, that's interesting. So then I click on the subform, I look through it, and then I see all these people talking about the 360 heads of the Earth Zone, or talking about these different exercises, or Eucharist with water, or going over the first three steps. And as I dug through it, I peeled all these different things layer by layer, and kind of got a feel for the people in the forum. I was like, oh, okay, these are good people. Like they're kind of different than the people in the other forums, like even on the other sub forums who are maybe a bit more rigidity or this or that, with ritual magic. And so I was like, oh wow, you can just like learn how to produce your own energy and awaken these types of skills, faculties, and be able to do it like that. Okay, so yeah, and then I saw the first person who's kind of more active in the Barden community that I came across was Nanad. He had like a username like Tallerman on there, and he had like a journal log of like him talking to the 360 Earthstone spirits every day. And I kind of skimmed through it, and I was like, oh wow, he consistently posted for 360 days a year. I was like, oh, that's impressive. Following that, then I not long after came across Martin Falk's videos, not Barden related, but then I dug deeper into it. I was like, oh, he practices Barden, and he's got this really cool compilation of him like doing tumo breathing out in the wilderness in the snow, or like holding hot coals in his hand. And to me, coming across, I was like, whoa, okay, so he's doing real work here. So yeah, and that's kind of where I got started, and then got my copy of the book, started reading through it, doing some of the practices, and starting along my journey.
Wow, cool. Thank you. Wonderful. I actually did answer this question in the previous event, but I'll just quickly say I went through a bit of a dry spell, and I was looking, and I had a break, and then a chap who introduced me to energy healing and empty force and these types of things. I sort of lost my focus, and then he just dropped something on, and he commented on a video that was shared on Facebook of Mark Rasmus, and I was like, who's this Mark Rasmus fella? And then I found him, and then he was doing cool stuff with Qigong, and I was like, oh, I'm all about that, and Tai Chi and that. And then he was talking about Hermetic magic and Franz Barden, but he was, he was kind of like this very objective, like I said, with the Qigong and the Tai Chi stuff, and he was very well articulate. And then he started talking about Barden, so he'd already kind of sold me with his language skills that he was worth paying attention to, and he was doing things that I could visibly see. And then because I'd been in the searching around magic stuff for years, and Barden never came into my purview, and I was actually quite surprised by that. I'm like, I've even got a book here, like it's a book on wizards, and it's got all of these people from across time, all these well-known esoteric practices and authors and that. And it's a sizable book, and it's got lots of people I've never heard of, and Barden's missing from this. All the usuals are there except Barden, and I just found that really curious. So, but I found Barden in a great way, and I'm so grateful. So I really love hearing how people found this particular body of works, because it's just got this wonderful kind of aura about it. And because Barden was a healer as well, I have an affinity with that conversation, because he was really actually trying to help people. He wasn't trying to be a sort of an edgy occultist. He was, he had a and he presented this well-structured path, and it's just like, man, honestly, I just have to pinch myself sometimes and go, far out. Is this, like we are so lucky, in so many ways. So thank you, gents. Now, okay, here we go. I'm going to start with James for this one. Okay, so I guess this is like a little bit of a question about a journey from a curiosity, something that piqued your curiosity, to actually something that became quite tangible, satisfying, and real. So, James, at what point did this stop being interesting and start being undeniable? And you can, choose how you sort of interpret those words, because I think it might be a little different for everyone.
Undeniable. I'm not sure really. I mean, as I say, when I first found out about the book, it probably took me, because at that time I was reading. I was also on the Dalbums. People probably know the Dalbums site, and I was sort of researching Barden. I was researching the book, and I was like, oh, I'm not sure. Is it about power? Is it about liberation? I'd rather escape samsara than become a powerful mage within samsara, you know. So I wanted to make sure, because when I'd come from a Buddhist background, right? So Nyingma background. So the idea of Vajrayana is it's a bamboo tube. You're either going to seek liberation or you're going to hell. It's if you fail or you fail your Vajra vows type of thing. So it was quite a serious decision for me. It was like, it wasn't just like, I'll just do this. This would me moving away from that previous set of teachings, and this had to be liberation based. So I'd say probably 6 months after initially discovering the book, and at that point I was practicing, but I wouldn't say I was committed. I was still researching, I was still keeping my options open. But as I started to see, I would say through the vacancy of mind, as I started to see progress and kind of states that maybe I hadn't had before, or that I hadn't had as regularly before, I was like, okay, this seems to be going in the right direction. Everything's telling me that this is the direction I should go. At that point, I guess I'm quite stubborn at that point. So when I decide on something like that, that's it. I'll just continue doing it until I reach the point of completing it. So about 6 months in. So that was about, I discovered it in 2008, and by July 2009, I was all in.
Okay, I guess what this question was sort of more aimed at was like, it was probably, maybe could have been phrased better, in the sense that...
I'm sorry if I answered the wrong question.
No, that's fine. No, I mean, like, what I guess I was sort of aiming for with this was like, it might be a bit of a clickbaity title in some ways, but what it is like, at some point on the journey of discovering the book, when you had your curiosity peak because you read through it and you're like, okay, there's an appeal and a magnetism towards this approach, this methodology, and maybe what the book offered, and then at some point in the journey, something hit that made you go, wow, this is actually something, like something's happened as a result of a sort of like a framework, of a scheduled kind of framework that produced a very satisfying and tangible result. And so, we may have answered this in a previous one in a different way, maybe.
I think for me, I mean, Phil, because before that, I think if you were coming to it fresh, maybe without other experiences, maybe, then there would be something, maybe there's something significant like that happened. But I think I'd had experiences like that with some of my previous teachers, where I was like, oh my God, this stuff is real. With things that broke what could be coincidental, or what outside of the sort of chance, where I was just like blown away again and again and again. So from 2003 through to 2008, I had a few of those experiences with different traditions. So there was it wasn't whether it was real or not for me. I knew it was real. I knew these things were real. The question for me was whether it was liberation based or power based. You know, the question of whether it was undeniable or not was already settled. It was, I didn't want to become great and then die, and I chose the wrong path. I really should have focused more upon liberation and not upon, a path that accumulated power. So that was my main concern. So yeah, there wasn't a major moment, but if I had to choose one in those early days from Bardens, it was probably when I first met Mark Rasmus.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I guess I could have contexted the question a little better, but no, that's great because you're right. I mean, I was already having experiences before I found this, and this just sort of gave me a set of ways. I guess it was for me, it was an undeniable obviousness to it, like to go, okay, this works great for me. I'm taking this. So maybe that's another angle of it.
In which case, definitely after meeting with Mark, I was like, if I wasn't already all in, I was like, I'm all in again.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty much what happened to me too. I haven't been in physical proximity to Mark, but to work to train with him. But I've had some other experiences with some students and that, and I'm going, well, I didn't need it, but I'm all good. The Barden stuff, I'm good with that. Please, David, you can answer this question or however you perceive it. But at what point did this stop being interesting and start being undeniable? However that sort of comes across.
You like, do you mean like magic in general or Barden specifically?
Let's go with magic. Let's go with that.
Well, that was never a question for me. Um, I'm a little bit of a personal sort of like anomaly in that I was, as a child, already knew this stuff was real and just wanted to learn about it. Asked my dad to bring me the information and read it to me and translate it and stuff like that. And so I was born knowing, had the awareness that magic was not imagination, or not just imagination, but imagination was a part of it, that it was real. And that was never, in doubt for me. I guess the message there is that that obviously doesn't come from this incarnation. It comes from another incarnation that I had. And I guess the message there for others is that, eventually you do reach a point where that some of this carries over for you. All right. You don't start from zero. You start from a place where I would describe it as a child, I just knew that magic was real, just like I knew where my next breath was coming from. It was just an assumed reality, assumed fact, you know? So it was never deniable.
I like that. That's cool. There's a saying, something like they were able to do it because they were never told that they couldn't, or that they didn't know it was not real, or something like this. Like it's like there's a through line from being a child that can be maintained, but there's certain things that happen to them along their growth trajectory that can sort of like get in the way of that and overpower that innate sense. And so bless.
Yeah, you just brought something up for me that I think would be interesting to share. There was a kind of like a flip mirror experience for me when I was a kid, which was realizing that other people didn't believe in it.
Yeah.
That was like, oh, and then realizing why, what that meant. It came actually from a play experience I was having in the street. There were a bunch of girls that were friends of my sister's, and I had this skill, let's call it that, at like 3 or 4 years old, of being able to crush stinging nettles in my hand without being stung, because I didn't know that they could sting you, and no one had told me that they could sting you. But the girls had all been warned that the stinging nettles would sting you if you just brushed against them. And they were getting stung all the flipping time, like when we were out playing. But I could just like pick these things up in my hand and crush them, all right? And then one day, one of the girls said to me, literally this, I remember her words, "You can't do that. They'll sting you." And they started to sting me because I believed her.
Yeah.
And that was like a realization for me that, how this stuff works, why it doesn't work, all of that is to do with the magical will and what you believe.
Great story. That's fantastic. Yeah. Jake, looks like we're going wherever the perception of the question takes us. At some point, there was for me, there was a curiosity peak because I had experiences that nudged me forward. And then at some point, I developed a conviction that, wow, this is something legit. Now, I have heard you talk about some of your early experiences and that, and so that might fall in line a little bit with what David was talking about. But, you know, uh, I'll just let you, answer this question as you sort of see it. But at what point did this stop being interesting and start being undeniable?
Yeah, I love the question, and I love the responses I've heard from everyone here so far. I deeply relate to James' sentiment of going into this work not for power or for getting like material results or this or that, but for coming into it for liberation or
Mm.
gnosis or achieving transcendental states, and also having more engagement with different varying states of consciousness outside of myself. Um, and like David, like when I was a kid, I also had lots of experiences. I was an experiencer from as early as I remember. And I definitely related to the story of like crushing a nettle and not being stung. But then someone comes and says, "Oh, you can't do that. You'll get stung." Like the words, the spells that
Mm.
people, society, groups cast are very, very strong. And as magicians, we go through that process of unconditioning ourselves from those types of spells and regaining our personal agency to experience reality from different paradigms, right? We do that through our magical work, practice, meditation, traveling to different countries and being involved with different paradigms altogether. And so, like, for me, like, it's always been interesting and on many levels undeniable. So for me, like I have a few, I don't have complete integration with magical work where I feel like, oh, this is all 100% real and I don't ever doubt it. I have doubts about certain things. Like if when I see things or hear things that I personally have experienced through my own gnosis or own first hand experience, I don't have complete belief or conviction with that. I've had enough experiences on a very regular, repeated basis with doing practice to know that a huge scope of these things are real. I know that many of these things are real under conditions or certain astrological moments or events, or especially when there's group work, where more energy can be pulled, facilitated for things to materialize or for timelines to shift, for things to just perfectly align, synchronize enough for complete miracles to happen. I've seen these things, I've experienced them, and there's also ones I haven't. So for that matter, like it's all very interesting. But for me, like I don't deny things. I allow, I experience them, and I am open and willing to having more experiences. So, like from early on, I've always understood that like, oh, there's all these different intersectionalities of reality where there's people from different socioeconomic classes or people with different mind or perception or completely different things, right? I mean, of course, like looking back as an adult, like it's easier to understand, but like there's just that like instinctive level as a kid who maybe a bit more sensitive to this type of work where it's like, oh, hmm, like I'm different. Or like, oh, like when I share this idea with folks, they don't quite pick up on what I'm talking about with energy or with feelings or picking up certain emotions. So like, yeah, I don't try to pretend that I feel something. I feel it, and it's amazing, and it's transcendent.
Wonderful, thank you. Yes, but I think the trickster jumped in on this question here and gave us a whole bunch of. It's going to be a hard one to frame this into a YouTube title. So That's great. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, I just want to say thank you to everyone in the chat. Please, by all means, we're here. We're available to do our best to answer your questions. I have three exceptional, well-trained, well-practiced Jedi Masters here, although they'll never admit it. And so, please, by all means, even just try your luck. I would like to ask now something here, which is, I think, going to be relevant to a lot of people who, at some point, maybe the honeymoon period of the initial romantic or the allure or the appeal. Let's say, they've discovered the book, they've heard about the book, and then they realize that, wow, there's actually like a daily requirement here, or there's a grind involved, or there's some kind of regular discipline required to make this thing happen. It's, I've had a lot of, I would read a book sometimes, and the next day I would have an experience. This has happened with several things. I was given a glimpse, a try before you buy, if you know what I mean. And then it's like, okay, yes, you can have this thing as real, or it's, it's real enough to pique your interest, and now you can do it, but now you have to put the work in to make it happen. And so this next question is, I'll just spring this one on you, Jake, is like, in the days of working through the practices, something that that can happen is like, I think too, that when you're trying to figure out what's going on, because some people have needed teachers to help them understand. Did you ever consider walking away, and what brought you back, if so?
Yeah, awesome question. And for me, like, as far as my soul mirror work, I'm a great starter, but I'm not a great finisher, right? So like, there's a lot of projects in my life that I picked up and stopped and started. Lots of books I've read only glimpses of. Got tons of trunk novels written, and or courses or other things that just never see the light of day. But so I totally own that. And so like, there's times in my life where I've not done this work on a continuous basis. But like, there's also times where how I like to look at it is like this, like seasons. There's different seasons in our life where there's some seasons where we're in retreat and we go really, really deep into the work, right? I spent many, many months, years, really, really, really deep into work, like putting in hour after hour after hour, going deep into exercises. And I also had some times in my life where I just recently moved from across the country, like from the most southern tip of California all the way to the most north. And in that transition time, I did not get as much practice or sits or mindfulness practices in. Like me, I was like deep in the trenches, figuring out all the little details that life needs, working on stuff, moving projects, logistics from sunrise to 10, 11, 12 at night. Just like, sorting those types of stuff out. So like there's some seasons where like practice declines. However, what brings me back always is the contrast, like noticing how things deteriorate without continuing to practice. Concentration, mindfulness, nervous system regulation, or just feeling accountable, right? So that's what brings me back into the practice, into the grind, is realizing that, oh gosh, look how much I lose if I don't continue the basics, right? Because once you get to a certain threshold with this work, you're going to be able to do a lot of the fun stuff without doing the basics or maintaining it. Not at the level of depth or intensity or level that will make this work especially good for like spiritual, psychic development. But like, once you have certain breakthroughs of sensitivity, like your palate's open, your ability to tune in and connect and do the Kabbalah or talking to spirits or other things is incredibly easy and natural. And a lot of the stuff can be kind of instantaneous, and that can be a trap. So so sometimes it's hard to get back into the basics, even when you've done a lot of the initial work. So that's my soul mirror work on display for you guys, so that you know that even if you've done so much work or you've put in thousands of hours of meditation, tens of thousands of hours, I know people who've done tens of thousands of hours of this work, and they still need to revise and go back to the basics sometimes. It's that important.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I'm sure many people will find resonance with that reply. So thank you,
Yeah.
David.
Yeah.
David, I'd love to hear your take on this. I'm sure because also you've worked with a lot of people as well and helped them through as a mentor and as a teacher. Did you ever consider walking away, and what brought you back? If so.
No, is the answer to the first question.
Hmm.
Uh, I just like once I'd found the book, I knew immediately this is for me, and it was never in doubt, and I never walked away from it. Although that it's something that I would say about that I learned that is maybe relevant to the question, which is that I learned that awakening, which is what we're doing here in initiation, is like awakening your awareness, your consciousness. Um, it doesn't, it has a rhythm, right? Like Jake said, there are seasons. And part of that rhythm for me, and I think for most of the people that I've spoken to, it's not a continuous ascent. You don't continuously improve. What happens is you generally improve, and then you fall back a bit, or you have a setback, and it seems like a failure, like you don't do the work for one day, or you miss it for some, or you fall back in some way, you lose the motivation, you lose the willpower to do it or something, right? Or you make a breakthrough and then you can't replicate that breakthrough and it seems like you've fallen back. But actually, this is just part of the rhythm. Every time you write, your awareness goes up to a new level, right? So new lessons, new level, all of that newness, right? It generally, by nature, falls back into a previous level of awareness to incorporate that new level of awareness into what you have already understood, into what you've already grasped and comprehended. And part of that is a returning, like a falling back, right? But then you go into it deeper as a result. You go the next time you go up again and you reach that new level again, you go into it deeper. So there was that rhythm to it of not punishing yourself, learning not to be so uptight with yourself, and seeing this rhythm of like, okay, now I'm in the sort of my motivation is withering phase. I'm in the waning phase, in other words, of this cycle of ascension or this cycle of awakening, and learning from it and realizing that this is what it is, that you're taking a new level of conscious awareness into yourself where it's becoming integrated and you're then able to experience it more deeply than you were before because it's now integrated with what you already knew, what you already experienced. And then you go forward again and you have the same experience, but then it's better and it's different and you move further and deeper into it. Um, did I have moments when I wanted to walk away from it? No. Did I have moments when I was frustrated with it? Yes. Did I have moments when I felt like I was going backwards and I needed to go backwards to do the steps again? Yes. All of that was actually part of the natural cycle I see now. And it was never what I thought it was at the time, which was like, oh no, kind of struggle. It was
Man,
all progress. It was all taking me there.
what a great response. These are all fantastic. You have to follow this, James. You up for it, bro?
Yes.
Come on, man. You're a
Um,
hard working, disciplined martial artist, dude. I can't wait for your response. Did you ever consider walking away? And if so, what brought you back?
well, in answer to the specific question, no, it was never a consideration. But I can relate to what Jake and David have said. I mean, absolutely. I think this path is no different to anything else you take up. There's an excitement to get involved, then there's initial challenges, and then there's doubt whether you can go further, and then there's breakthroughs, and you repeat the cycle. So it's very much a way that humans learn new things and then face challenges and then doubt ourselves. So I don't really see this path as amazing as it is to be any different from anything else like kung fu or whatever else I've learned. There's always these phases, and I think the key is as you get older and you do more things, you're able to recognize the phase you're in. Um, and so what might throw you out of you might think, I want to quit, when you're young. If only I was young. But, back then you go, oh, that's it, it's over. But as you go on in life, you realize that it's like a new job. You start a new job, you're excited, and then you get challenges and you think, oh, I can't do it. And then 6 weeks later, you know how to do everything and it's all fine. So it's recognizing the phase that you're in, I think, and not panicking and not feeling that you're not making enough progress, as the other guys have said. And as we all know, success is not this, or progress is not this. It's all over the place. And as a result of your response to those challenges, as a result of your feeling, oh, I'm not doing this right, maybe I should go back. As a result of you putting in the extra thought or the extra effort in doing those things, you move on, as you should, as it always was supposed to be. That the progress is not just show up every day and do it. That you show up some days and it's great. You show up some days and it's a struggle. But that's all just part of it. And I think the more you do, whether it be Bardens or anything else, you recognize these natural phases of learning something, developing in something, and deeply embodying something. So I think, yeah. So if anyone is experiencing anything like that, yeah, it's because a lot of people, sometimes I see this in martial arts as well. It's like this thing gets hard and then transition to the other thing. Well, the other thing will also get hard. So it's just something about going forward. There's no easy route. It's that you always get those challenges, which is what give you the reward and the feeling that you've actually done something constructive. If it's too easy, it's you don't feel the growth. So that's my long-winded answer. No, never considered walking away, because after my initial kind of research and thinking, very, very serious consideration, is this for me going to actually advance me forward towards, I was still very much in Buddhist terminology then, as a way out of samsara. After I'd considered that and felt that this was the right way, that was it, all in. And I'd already had teachers who had put me through the mill, teachers who had me standing in a horse stance for 3 hours a day for 40 days. I've already had all these things. So I know myself that I'll hate some of the process, but it's part of the process, if you know what I mean.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, I mean, far out. We could talk at this great length because seasons of intensity. The path is not linear. Season. The growth rhythms and cycles and that. And then there's when you're playing an instrument, you learn a set of chops. Like on a guitar, you'll learn all these left hand techniques and right hand techniques. And sometimes you just want to enjoy what you've learnt and spend time with it and explore those skills, because then they can soak in a bit better too and become Obelix jumping in the cauldron as a baby. He's got that stuff for life. The more time you sort of wallow and spend in that, soak it in and absorb it. Great. There's those, honestly, guys, the responses from that, where they went with that is one of the reasons I love these dialogues, because you just don't know where it's going to go, and there's some real treasures in there. Thank you so much. Now, unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to Mr. Jake Sen. He's got to, it's pretty late where he is, and he's going to go and get some, I don't think he needs a beauty sleep, but the brother works hard, so, we want to wish him well.
My wife's speaking up too loud, so she's not happy. So time for bed for me too, then.
Fair enough, brother. Well, I want to say thank you so much, Jake, for joining us here, and don't forget, everyone, that mysterycollege.com is absolutely chocker full of all sorts of things to explore. And great to see you've got Mike Rasmus on the bill there as well, brother. I appreciate that. And cool, you got a Reiki course. So, Jake, do you have any final words you'd like to share with practices, people who are starting on the path? Anything you can share to encourage or inspire?
Yeah, I encourage you to keep an open heart, enjoy the process, have fun, and to not look at this as a series of exercise or discipline, or oh, I have to do this or that, or ask, or don't you don't have to ask yourself, oh, why am I doing this? Instead, look at this as an opportunity to have a complete identity transformation change, where you change from someone who may be thinking, oh, I can't have these feelings or experiences, or oh, this won't work for me, to someone who says to themselves, who fully believes, I am someone who can do the work. I know that there's people who have done this work, and I'm going to associate myself with them. I'm going to take their books, read their courses. Oh, so I'm getting tired there, slipping my words. All right, all right. So I think that's my cue to hop off, but I strongly encourage you to seek community, especially in person, so you can get like a full sense of the energetics. And if folks in the community are offering live streams ever, where energy transmissions or any energetic is involved, I strongly recommend and encourage that as the best stepping stone if you're not able to afford or make a trip to a local gardenist who is further along in your journey. With that said, there's also other great traditions to look at, like that have a lot of wonderful skills and beauty, and can give you some sense of a sense of these energetics. But yeah, there's plenty of talk on forums about some of those, like Tantrika, Vajrayana Buddhism, um, and yeah, a lot more traditions. I'm being surprised by every day, like as I'm meeting more practitioners from other paths and seeing, oh wow, there's a lot more light in this, and positive energy than anticipated. Because to me, I thought certain practices seemed a bit grimy, but then I speak to a practitioner who has a different relationship. Oh, and wow, there's actually a lot of great things to be seen here, experienced. So yeah, but keep an open heart, open mind, and enjoy the journey, and enjoy the shift from your identity from someone who's dabbling in the work to someone who lives, breathes, and this has this work as an extension of your natural day-to-day life. All right, thanks, guys.
Oh, that was great. Wonderful. Thank you. Might see you on a meme stream, bro. We'll give you a buzz.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, man. Thank you. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Okay. Well, everyone, we're going to keep moving forward here. Let's see if I can remove from screen. There we go. Cool. Okay. Now I've got a question from the chat here, and this one's this one's a bit cosmic. You guys up for a cosmic one? Well, a cosmic might not be the best word, but it's a macrocosmic type question here. And we'll start with David on this. Do you see enlightenment as something an individual achieves, or more something the universe as a whole evolves into?
It's both, because there's no difference between the individual and the universe. So when you're evolving your awareness, your consciousness, it's the universe that's evolving. You can look at it another way, right? Or express it another way. The awareness or the consciousness that's currently present in human beings on the surface of the earth is obviously real, right? We're all aware that we're all conscious, right? It's not an imagination or a fantasy. So this consciousness exists right now. And so you can say that from the moment the universe began, which it didn't begin, but from the moment it was started up to this point, the universe has been evolving, and right now, at the cutting edge of where we are in the now moment on this planet, it's evolved as consciousness in human beings. That's what we are. We're the consciousness of the universe in a human vessel, in a human form. So when you are progressing your own awareness to the point where you can join with the oneness of the universe is also progressing towards that point with you. There's no separation. So yeah, that's the truth. I guess in more detail, I would say that what we're doing with enlightenment is we're already we're already awareness, right? We're always awareness, and we're already awareness, and awareness is fully enlightened. you're already fully enlightened, all right? Is another way of saying it, okay? We're already fully enlightened because we're already pure awareness, and that is fully enlightened. But the process of enlightenment is the process of becoming conscious of that awareness within you. So there's a difference in my world or in my language between awareness and consciousness. Awareness is what you fundamentally are, it's what the divine is. And your consciousness is the part of you that's becoming conscious of that. And that's what enlightenment is.
Wonderful. Far out. It's pretty late here, but I'm following. I'm following.
Cosmic enough an answer for you?
Loved it. Loved it. Yeah. James, have you got anything you'd like to add on this one?
Phew. Well, hell, I should have gone first before David. I mean, first of all, this is probably above my pay grade, to be honest. But I mean, I guess as well, there's the whole language, right? Enlightenment. You know, many people have different ideas of what that actually, what that actually is, and I think for me, again, coming from the background that I've got and my exposure, something that David said there is that we're already enlightened, if you like, and that we are an expression of. We're not separate from the universe. We are the universe. So there's no universe and us type thing. There's no separation in that way. So we're just another blob of this universe stuff. And coming from the dodging perspective is that we are already primordially enlightened or primordially aware. And that so a lot of the dodging practice is actually, there's not a lot to it. It's just resting in that awareness, resting in that view. There's a specialized view that you do with your eyes and all this sort of stuff, but there's this sort of resting that you rest in, which is what they would call the view, what you might call the rigpa, what you might call the enlightened state, and trying to live that more and more every day. So it's like it's there. It's not something that I see that we are working towards, or trying to get to. It's already there. It's just a change of channel to drop into it. And of course, there's multiple different ways of approaching this, but that's how I see it, is that it's already there. And the more someone can do that, the more, like you see in some traditions, the way the death happens, or the way the rainbow light, or the way the body does not deteriorate after death, is almost like a measurement of how much they are able to rest in that awareness. But also, I think it's also a question where, with however much I can say, like we were saying on the other podcast, it's like any one of us can just put a pin into the universe and have a little look through and think we understand it. But there's all this other stuff going on. So there's probably, so much that I don't understand about enlightenment, that I'm not even aware of. But from my current limited perspective, that's what I would say. We are already enlightened, and it's a matter of resting in that state.
Wonderful. Great perspective. Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, I'm looking at this question going,
Whew.
yeah, I mean, you could come in from a bunch of different angles, and it reminds me of something I heard someone say, and they were using the Bible as a reference point of the, now, obviously, if we talk Old Testament, we go back in there, and, I mean, far out. I mean, I'm not going to get into it too deep, because I've got so many different angles on it, and some of them make some good sense. You've got potentially a bunch of different personalities being represented by the Godhead in that, or what is ascended, what people are referring to as God. But, okay, just hear me out. But then this one particular chap was saying, I did quite like this in a sense. He was talking about what we were asking here is that, does the universe or the universal intelligence evolve as we evolve? Was it back in those days less evolved, and that's why it was a bit mean, and nowadays it's less mean because we've evolved a bit? And I thought, well, I mean, why not? That's not a bad contemplation. I mean, we're upgrading the overarching OS, the overall software, as we learn and grow here. And yeah, sure, every so often they decide to wipe the slate clean on this planet. So yeah, I mean, look, I would say that if everything is already known and there's like, I mean, is the great intelligence of all just watching us grow and just enjoying like, it's great to start again. It's great to see someone like, it's like me when I used to be a guitar teacher and watch the kids start from scratch and make progress and see the look of delight on their face. I mean, there's an old Kabbalistic saying about, making a creature to fill it with delight. And which is and delight. That's an interesting word. We won't go into etymology, but it's like that sounds like the opposite of light, but delight, whatever. Anyway, to see the look of surprise, delight, awe, and wonder in the face of another is it's quite a treasure. And so I don't know. I'll go with that. But okay. Anyway, that's that was a pretty deep one, and that's great. Thank you for that great question. Okay. Here's a couple of good ones here. Okay. This one here, because I've come across this a bit in my own time, and I'll give this one to James first, but I'll just have a quick wrap on it. I think that there's ways of having interesting experiences that require a lot less work that are going to still give you growth and interesting interactions and that you can take value from. But, when we're talking about a specific pathway that's laid out in a sense that is like, okay, you're going to have some natural talent. Some of these are going to be easier for you than others, and everyone's a little different because of X, Y, and Z, but somebody likes the idea of like what you're talking about, and then it's like, okay, you have to work on this yourself. There's a so this is about like how do you keep your momentum, I guess, is maybe one way I would view this one. I think falling in love with it and going, I know this is for me, and that thing about walking away before, hey, look, for me, I'm pretty much the same. I've already passed the point of no return. If I just don't practice, I know I'll be back to it because I'll just find time to, the more I integrate it. But with this here, I think the initial momentum of getting started, you're captivated by it. I found myself that I was interested in a whole bunch of things. I was having incredible dream experiences, lucid dreams, and they were leading to out-of-body stuff. I was having all these incredible nature shamanic experiences, dialoguing with the environment in the most interesting and bizarre ways that I'm a skeptical person, and I was just like, this is over the top. And so I was being fed from all these angles and was very supportive. But, when I meet people, I just say, when I see this one, it's like you and I like what Mark Rasmus says, is that you just, find what you can do that's fun. Like building the ball and doing the Qigong stuff is pretty much accessible. And that helps to fuel the momentum of fun within and the play within the practice. But James, I'm sure you've come across this in your time working in the community and with students and things, or maybe talking to people who've shown an interest. But anything you'd like to share on this?
Yeah, I mean, this I think would depend on how it came to me. I mean, if it's just in general, if someone came to me and said, I'm already practicing, but because I'm not one to preach. I'm not one to say you've got to do this, you should do this, or you do what you like. Everyone finds their way, and this might not be for that person. So if they came to me and asked me specifically, I love this, but I can't, my morning disciplines are not there, or I find I'm in and out, then I don't know, it might sound terrible, but like I kind of think all learning is self-learning. It begins with this. It's like teachers facilitate, coaches facilitate, knowledge facilitates people, but there has to be the self. The person has to be at the center of pushing themselves to learning and to practice. So I don't want this to sound harsh, but for me, it's like if they're asking how can I motivate myself? Well, I'm not sure. I don't know. If you have to motivate yourself in this, I think, like you said, to take it small. But I would just say, take a break. do it when you enjoy it. But I'm never one to push someone to try and keep them in it. I think if you want to do this, you'll do it. Because I like anything. I think I have this with languages here in Taiwan. It's like people love the idea of speaking Chinese, but they don't want to do it. They don't want to practice. They don't want to put the hours in. People love the idea of being fit and strong, but they don't want to do the work. So they love the idea of doing the elements, but they don't want to do the practice. So, I mean, what can you do? This is a life lesson, right? It's like, if you want this, you got to do this. So I'm not one to sort of try and push or motivate or anything like that. It's your motivation as adults, I think, has to come from the adult. This is why I don't teach.
Yeah.
It's like when I taught martial arts, it's like, it's like I'm not here to convince you to do this. You should want to do it, and if you want to carry on doing it, I'll help in any way I can. But the motivating factor has to come from you, because this is such a fundamental thing. This when you get involved in this, it's all encompassing. It becomes your lens. You're changing yourself. Every thought, every action, every minuscule moment of existence, the texture of reality you're being aware of, and you're trying to direct this into a more productive and a more positive way than what you used to do. When you're tempted with things, you're like, I might have gone this way, and I'm trying to catch myself in the moment to take myself this way. So it's all encompassing. And if you're not all in, then I think it's better you go and find something that you enjoy more immediately, and then maybe you'll find your way back. I know many people that started, went off, came back, went off, came back, learned other skills, did other things, developed other practices, and then they came back maybe 3 or 5 years later with another set of skills already developed, at a point where they could where this became not sure, but it became something immediately enjoyable and something they were just addicted to. Because I also, again, maybe it's my mirrors, but I do think anything like this, or anything you want to get good at, you have to be doing it so that everyone else around you thinks you're crazily imbalanced. If you're just doing the bare minimum, you're just not gonna. Yeah, it's great, and go for it. But really, it's all encompassing, and it's all in as far as I'm concerned. So whether that be this, whether that be martial arts, or whether that be languages, it's like, if you actually want to have any change in your ability, it all comes down to at first anyway, the intensity with which you can get. And again, it's not years involved. This is another thing. I'm straying from the question here, but it's not the years that you've been involved in something. It's the number of hours that you've put in over the week, over the month, over the years. So you could be involved in 6 years, but you've only done an hour a week or 2 hours a week. So when you've got this hours compounding each week, and you've done that for 3 months, you're going to know at the end of those 3 months whether you want to carry on being involved in this. And you shouldn't have to have anyone to convince you to do it. That's the difference, I think, between tinkering around the edges or fully committing. So that's why it's sometimes better to stay out and just look around, see what's out there. You work with different people. Sometimes it's not the tradition, or it's the teacher, which is the bridge for you. This person doesn't do it for you. This person helps you more readily enjoy what you're doing. So yeah, that's my answer. I think I feel quite strong on this, is that there has to be, all learning is self-learning primarily, I believe. Tools, people help you, but if you're not the primary pusher of your progress, then there's not a lot that anyone else, or that any course, or that any book can do.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's really good straight talk in a very, very kind way. And I think, from my background as a musician and a guitar teacher, as well, music teacher actually, like some kids really like the idea of like having a guitar on them and looking cool with their photo taken. But when they had to get up on stage and perform, they were nervous as hell because they hadn't practiced. Even the kids who had practiced were nervous too, but there is a difference between, like, it's cause and effect. You do the thing, you get the outcome, presuming you do it right. But I was a self-taught musician because I just wanted that thing, and I
Yeah.
was really surprised. Everyone was coming to me for lessons. It's like, how come you don't have the same drive as me? As like, why do you want to do this? Is it because you see someone doing something? It's like, once they found out the kind of hours I would spend in the bedroom practicing, it seems cool. Yeah, let's live
Yeah.
with a musician. No, you don't want to live with a musician. But you're thinking he's going to bring all the chicks home. Yeah, well, maybe, but like, you're going to be listening to me play the same licks over and over again. But yeah, I think you really hit on something important there, and that is that sometimes I think too it could be an early indicator that there's an interest there, but maybe the environment or the situation isn't quite ready for it. But it's like, okay, there's an interest point there, and maybe it's nestled or inside something that's not the right thing. But where else can I find that same kind of interest? And I
Yes.
think that exploration that you talk about is critical, because it's like, there's a thing there that's piqued my interest, but for the wrapping of that thing, it's like I'm struggling to get engaged with it and get traction with it. You know, where is that elsewhere that maybe is in a way that there's more resonance? There's a fuller resonance. So yeah, great. This is great. I'm really grateful. I can't wait to hear what David's got to say about this. David, please tell me, what would you say to someone who loves the ideas presented but struggles to sustain the actual practice?
Mm. Yeah. I'm just going to assume that we're talking about Bardon, but I think that this could be about any kind of spiritual practice, right?
Yes.
So the question that will come up for me is, why are you struggling? That's the question that you need to answer. What's the struggle about? Okay. This is the core issue, and it could be a number of things, some of which have already been mentioned. I'll just like drop a few, right? Um, Motivation. You might not have that, right? About motivation, I would say it's not hard for me to motivate myself to do the things that I love doing. That requires zero motivation. So the question is, what do you love about this work? What do you love about the ideas? What is it in the ideas that makes you excited and makes you want to actually explore them in practice, right? So if you're lacking in motivation, it's maybe because it's not fun enough for you. And then the flip side of that is, are you taking it seriously enough, right? If you're not taking it seriously enough, then that's a problem, and you're not going to do the practice, okay? Um, are you, another thing that might come up for you why you're struggling is you don't really, you think you do, but you don't really understand the exercise or the goal that you're meant to be achieving. Is that why you're struggling? That's another point in which you should examine yourself over and maybe talk to someone about that as well, who's actually achieved that. Um, and there's just a whole host of other reasons why you might have something going on there. There could be something in your black mirror that's blocking you. You might have a self-worth issue. That's what's holding you back from getting up and doing this work, because you don't believe you're actually worth it, or you have like a self-confidence issue that says, I'm never going to do this, I'm never going to achieve it. Um, there could be all kinds of things going on in your character, in your soul mirror, that might be the key. And once you deal with that particular part of yourself, you might not struggle or struggle as much. So the key question is, why are you struggling? And it's about doing introspection, figuring out what exactly is the issue is that you're struggling with.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, I think breaking it down, is a really great approach. And then I was just thinking of my friend who's just like, he's the ultimate ace of wands, fire element, untamed, and he's just, if he's got something in front of him, he's going to do that thing. Ain't nothing going to stop him. And if he was having strike, yeah, these fellas out here, I'm going to practice every day for 2 hours. I'm going to practice every day for 2 hours. I practice every day for 2 hours. You do a round of those in the morning and at night. Use the tools to get you onto the tools. But yeah, these are great things, because even the question itself, it invites introspection. And I think that's just valuable, because it's like there's something about this thing I want to do, and I don't know why I don't want to practice. It could be a number of things, and yeah, I think it's great. So yeah, I'm really grateful for the way these questions like have sort of taken us around the place. Now, gentlemen, we're 90 minutes in. I've still got a couple of questions. We're not getting much coming through in the chat. We can do one or two things. We can maybe say thank you to everyone and do the exit, or we can just tackle these last two questions. What would everyone like to do?
I'm fine. Whatever, yeah.
Let's go. We're hot here. With the iron's hot. Let's strike. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Okay, so David, I'll pass this one to you, sir, if I may. Okay. What does genuine progress actually feel like from the inside? Okay, and these practices they're not, yeah. I won't talk in it anymore. I'll just ask the question. And how do you know something real is happening?
It depends on the exercise a lot, right? Like what is it that you're actually trying to achieve? And each of the different magical faculties that you develop. Oh, we're frozen. I'm not. Oh, okay. It's okay. It's all right. It's working out. So each of the magical faculties that you develop has a different feedback mechanism that tells you that you're getting there. All right. Some of them Barden writes down in his book, like checking that your mental wandering and your mental perception of objects and places and people is objective, right? So some of them are written into the book, but along the way, you discover others. Okay, as you're working on each of the exercises, you will discover ways in which you can verify progress for yourself. All right. One of the early things that you notice in the character transformation work, for example, is, oh, that thing doesn't come up anymore for me, right? Suddenly you just, it's not like you have this often you don't have this like breakthrough moment where you're like, I'm no longer angry and it's all gone. It's not like it happens like you have this eureka moment, but usually what happens is it fades out. And then one day you realize that you haven't been angry for 6 months and you go, oh, I'm not feeling so angry anymore, right? So that's important, right? That's a sign that you're progressing. But often, right, you will get a little bit hung up, especially in the early steps, on looking for your signs of progress. Almost like when am I done with this step? Like when am I done with this? When can I move on? Right. So you're like you're looking for those signs of progress that you know will be there when they come, and that is often a block to actually getting where you want to be. Right. It's a bit like watching the pot boil on the stove. Right. Everyone knows how long that takes when you're waiting for it to happen. And how quickly it is when you go away into the bathroom for 5 minutes and like, you come back like 20 seconds later, it's like boiling over. So yeah, there's a thing to know about that, which is don't be focused on the result. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the process that you're going through. Enjoy where you are right now with it, and don't worry too much about the manifestation and looking for like, is this working? If you're actually doing the practice and you're doing it consistently, trust me, it is working, even if you cannot see it.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, I think too that there's a bunch of traps here, and one of them might be is that if you have some kind of expectation you're projecting on what should be happening, maybe you've heard from someone, and you know, like I don't know if it was this particular event or the previous one from today where I was just basically saying, you know, we're building up deeper perceptual faculties to pick up on more depth, nuance, and subtlety in our general experience. You know, our sphere of awareness grows out slightly, but there's higher resolutions of information that make themselves available. And internal progress is being able to detect that. Like you said, there's things that'll pick up. Like every part of the experience is part of what we're talking about here. The book, if we use Barden's book, for example, he talks about the mental, the astral, emotional, and the physical body. So they're quite relatable in that we can pass those things separately, pass them to pieces that, go, okay, what's a mental function, what's an astral emotional function, what's a physical function. We're cleaning these things up. And so they may not seem like a big deal to start with, like, but they are important building blocks for the road ahead that are still valuable. And I think, don't take anything for granted. Like this is all progress is progress, and you're moving the needle every time you do this thing, every time you decide not to let yourself get carried away like you used to. It's like, oh, that thing doesn't bother me anymore. That's significant, right? That thing used to bother me all the time, and I would go off and have an emotionally charged reaction, or this might happen. Now it doesn't. Well, that's not some awesome, incredible, magical thing where I'm levitating and parting the clouds, and it's like, yeah, but it's still something. We're kind of on this perfection path, if we want to call it that. And so, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to add a bit of my own personal waffle on that one. Thank you, David. That was absolutely beautiful. And James, what does genuine progress actually feel like from the inside? How do you know something real is happening?
I obviously agree with a lot of what David said there. Some great stuff. I mean, the question itself, genuine progress. What's the difference between genuine progress and progress? I'm not sure, but I know progress. I mean, if we just take it from a very simple, way of just using your journal, I mean, in just the way you're recording things. Yesterday you did something for 48 seconds, and today you can do it for 55. So this kind of, you've got the figures, you've got the data. In which case, a lot of it is turning up and doing the thing you're supposed to do. And because obviously, as we know, the bodies, everything's compounding. You're not going to see necessarily something immediately, but if you're doing everything you should be, this is what I found with things, is that things that I thought were far off suddenly appear because I've been doing these things. Yeah, and so stuff I thought wouldn't happen for a while, but it starts to open up because of other things I was doing. So it says there, okay, genuine progress. Okay, genuine progress is basically, I would say, map what you're doing. Be very careful with your journal. Be very careful in writing out your thoughts about how your mind was working that day, what was going on in it, what happened in the exercises, and don't try. Obviously, this person or this question is relating to someone who is looking at progress, but try not to focus on it too much. And then if you go back after 3 months of journal entries, you're probably going to see in your own writing, in your own words, your progress. Because not only will you see the amount of time for you being able to do an exercise or do a visualization or do a vacancy of mind, all improving, but you're also going to see, probably as important or more important, the dialogue about how your mind was operating on that day, on that week, the problems you had or the problems you didn't have, the worries that might be dissipating, the anxiety that might be dropping off, the reactions or the behaviors you used to feel bad about or guilty about dropping off, becoming less. So you've got it all in your own writing, in your own journal. So there's your progress. And then how do you know something is really is happening? Well, again, it's very subjective, isn't it? And I'm very careful. I think sometimes I think like what we're all saying today, and like what we all say in our blog posts, our websites, and what anyone says, is all very useful. But I think it has to go in a little box that says information, useful information. But if you let for example, idea of what real progress sounds like, you might just kind of unfocus on everything else and focus in on what I'm saying. Well, I've not reached that point that James said. Does that mean I've not passed this exercise? And that's what happened when I was first started. Certain people said, oh, in this exercise, this will happen. And now I realize those people were probably just like really good and really gifted and pretty amazing at those things. And if I'd have held myself to those standards, I'd have felt like I was never getting anywhere. And it was only when I kind of just thought, you know what? Everything everyone says goes in the box, and that can inform me. But I need to just show up. First thing I need to do is just show up, do the exercises, do the journaling, and then, which is a bit of a challenge sometimes at first as well. But if you can get 3 months in the bag, it'll be much easier to do 6 months and 9 months and a year. And you'll just start looking back, and you'll have a stack of journals of scribbles and drawings and all sorts in them, and you'll look through them and you think, oh my god, yeah, like look at how my mind used to be and all the things that used to be popping up. And now look, now you might have a line, you had one line for the day. Yeah, this kind of was, I could feel it creeping in, but then I just settled it down and it was gone. Or you might start putting into your finger gestures into your day. You feel something coming on and you do a finger gesture for equanimity, and suddenly you're like, oh, okay. So you see your day improving as well. So I've always said, I think your day is the measure of your progress, not your cushion, not what you get necessarily on your cushion. It's how does your life go? How do you feel in life? How do you feel at work? How do you feel when you're working with other people? How kind of at ease in your own skin do you feel in daily interactions, in how you see life as well? Does life sort of start to open up for you, and you think, and you're excited about life and passionate about life? That from my perspective, I would see as progress, and that real progress is happening. More, I think. I think it's more. I think that's more overall useful way to look at it, rather than focusing solely on the cushion time, which I feel is more like a it's more like a check-in that, okay, I can do these exercises, but the day I think is where the magic happens.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, I think when you look at what you're doing, if we use Barden's book, for example, if we use Initiation into Hermetics, I mean, you can intellectually sort of calculate logical expectations and outcomes of like learning to manage your mental space. But there are going to be things that occur that fall outside of your ability to conceive or perceive what's going to happen. Like, this is the thing is like, okay, well, I can see what this is pointing at. This is going to give me the ability just to sit there and look at things without me having a reaction to them. And then I'm going to be able to focus more on something, which is going to be just great for life anyway, because we live in a world full of distraction. And then there's this other one where I can just basically switch the whole space off and just go, But then there's all these things that you weren't aware of because you didn't know until you did it. And then they're going to be these highly personalized, unique to you situations sort of arise and emerge. And I think that, this is great too, because I think as I sort of monitor the chat and the various groups and these types of things. Oh, is everyone still there? Yep. Okay, sweet. We can see the types of questions that get asked. And in some cases, it may just be a lack of persistence. And like you said, the journaling thing is just so critical because you're right. I mean, okay, here's a use case for that word, undeniable. When you go back and you've written in your own hand that you used to be like this or you used to do this and now you don't, and you see a through line, a chronology of these events, of this improvement of trajectory, essentially, it's like, okay. Well, I can't say that something's not happening here. And especially if you've been a certain way for a long time or something like that. And, how you choose to value that as being magical or not. I mean, like I said, this word unfoldment, and I think, like you said, 3 months in the bag and, that just gets good momentum going so that you're training discipline to sit down and do it. And yeah, like you said, it's in the day. Is this improving your life somehow? Is it going in a meaningful direction? So yeah, great conversation. This is so wonderful. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, well, I've got one more here, and I'll just put it quickly out to the chat again. Everyone in the live stream, thank you for joining us. If you have a question, please put it in. We've got one more question, and then we'll probably wrap things up. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who's joined us. And I'll throw this one at James first. So this one kind of popped up, and it's like this is pretty much what we've just been talking about, which is essentially the integration of the practices into everyday life. And, just quickly from myself, for me to interpret this one would be something along the lines of, I am involved in a lot to do with language systems, influence potential, and also, understanding, like learning to speak YouTube, and I've made a couple of videos on this, is essentially learning about psychology, and the psychology of the algorithm and the platform and these types of things. And sometimes I have to spend large amounts of time learning, watching, listening. Barden says, do one thing at a time and focus on that job. I mean, that is one of the best things I've picked out of this book. Because we all know people who will sit there sitting, watching a thing, doing another thing, and then there's something else going on. And the absorption of the quality of the information, it's going to be limited by all of these competing other activities and things that go on. And so for me, I don't separate these two types of things. Like I just find myself embodying more and more the principles that Barden brings forth, but also in what I do every day, which is a lot of stillness training as a healer. It helps me to sit with the exercise more and just appreciate it and just sit with it. And that's how my professional sort of work feeds into this. In fact, it's no different. In fact, maybe the question is completely redundant, but, James, have you got something you'd like to throw in on this one?
Well, yeah, because like you say, I mean, how does your professional work inform your understanding of Barden and vice versa? So, I mean, yeah, it's about a bit like we just said. It's the exercises all go in the tank, and then I go out and live my day, and then I come back to my cushion and I write about my day, about how my day went, and then I go and do the exercises again and do another litmus test of whether they've improved or they've got worse, which could be dependent on my day. So I don't see each environment is just another environment for me to try and express myself in the clearest, cleanest, best way possible that I can at this moment in time. And I think, yeah, it all comes back for me. It all begins in step one. Like any tradition out there is being aware of, being able to hold on to an idea, and also being able to have that vacancy and to then have that mindfulness in the day to create enough of a space between the thing that's going on and your own response to that thing. So that is probably the biggest thing. And I mean, since I started Barden, I've been in Taiwan, so I've not been in the sort of the corporate world since I've started Barden, really. But I know when I was back in the UK and I was doing other practices, quite similar practices, the key to me functioning at a high level in quite a high stress and not particularly nice environments was stillness. Every morning I would go out, I'd get to work early so I could do my stillness before I went into work. At lunchtime, I'd be the strange guy that would go out to the outside area and do my stillness at lunch. And at night time, when I got back before bed, I'd do my stillness again. And that's that maintaining that stillness and the depth of stillness and being able to access that stillness quickly is, I feel like, what allowed me to function in those environments without getting frazzled and without getting too swept away. Since starting Bardens and being here in Taiwan, I've not had that same environment. I've also had quite an alien environment. Not speaking the language, not knowing how anything worked, and so that again has been a practice of your mirrors. When you come here, obviously you can see things two ways. You can come and see things as different, or you can see things as wrong. and everyone I see, or you see lots of sort of people who come from Western countries and see everything as wrong. Well, they have a terrible time, then everything's wrong and everything goes wrong, and it just compounds, and then they just leave. But if you just see everything as different, so how you frame the world, I just see everything as different, and if there's a misunderstanding, I immediately assume it's my fault because I should be fluent, they shouldn't be fluent in my language. So it's having enough space to sort of reframe reality, and if you've not got that space, then you're going to be reactive. But if you've got the space, you can respond. And that's the key thing, I think, in all of these things. And this goes into one of the comments here that Polarity has said here as well, and the fighting spirit and stuff like that. Is again, it's like if you're just working off of immediate reactions, you're going to be pulled this way, you're going to be pulled that way. It's just all going to be a mess. But with more and more stillness, or in my perspective, I don't know what it's like in anyone else's head, but in my perspective, the more and more stillness I'm able to cultivate in the morning, in the middle of the day, in the evening, the more I'm able to take through my day with me. And it gives me that space to see things unfolding and to feel possibly a reaction coming, and to give me enough time to go, no, 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 that's not going to help. And let's go with this one instead. And I'll just, I'm sorry, it's my fault. and that, I believe, is where we can see that there's this sort of interplay between practice and your daytime. So, and that's your daytime being your professional environment or your home environment or your social environment. And I think that's about it. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you, David. We are, all three of us kind of do this stuff kind of full time, I guess. You could say, in a sense, loosely. So I'll just pose it. How does your professional work inform your understanding of Baden and vice versa?
Well, the clear and most obvious answer to that question is that I create a system to bring together my astrology practice with my Baden practice. And so everything I've written about in the archive, especially over the last 13 years, has been about that, has been about how my professional work, because I started as an astrologer, interested in magic always, but my profession started out as an astrologer, right? So then the Baden practice started to shape the astrology and how I was experiencing and working with the astrology, and then vice versa. So from that point on, there's always been a relationship between my professional work and my Baden work, right? And now it's just got to the point where I'm more open about it than I was before. Like I talk about the steps that Baden talks about more openly than I have done before, and how to map astrology to it. So it's just become more, I guess over time it's just become more open, right, to people, like maybe more accessible to people, because it's usually, I just write like 5,000 or 6,000 words on topics, and that's where I feel my work lives and where I'm most happy. I like to go into like deep dives, so it's off-putting for people who don't like reading a lot of stuff, but that's where the video work now comes in, right? So I guess it has like affected things like in that way as well, the need to reach more people at a very urgent time when human beings as a collective need to really wake up before it's too late. That has driven me to do more like of these other things. And that came from both my Baden and my astrological practice. That insight about where we were in history and what we were like facing. So that has driven me to do things. But I guess the simplest answer is really just the book, right? And then the blog and the archive. It just tells you how it's affected, how both of those things have affected each other. I just go and look at those articles. Pick any one of them about the black or white mirrors, or any article that I've written that's like involving both astrology and the Baden practice exercises. Any of them that I've written over the past 13 or 14 years will show you how those things have played out, how my professional work has been influenced by my Baden work, how my Baden work has been influenced by my professional work. It's just there online for people to see. and it continues to be like a point of exciting exploration for me. I live in the intersection between worlds. I'm a person who enjoys that. Astrology, magic, they have an overlap. I like to live in that overlap, right? And I'm also overlapping a lot with other areas, right? Like there's a lot of work I do. We talked about it earlier in the UFO UAP field, where it's completely separate to my Barden work and my astrology work, but I'm very active in groups and private like discussions that happen on that topic. And sometimes the astrology comes into that, and sometimes the Barden comes into that, and sometimes the UFO, UAP stuff comes into the astrology. So I live in these intersections all the time. I really love being in these places where two worlds overlap in that Venn diagram way.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Yeah, I think you know, like I said a bit earlier, there's no going back for me, and I'm just looking for ways to feed further into that. And I know that there's some things that I'm interested in, and everything seems to be. I seem to be able to find a relationship between everything. And my background as a music teacher gives me a great set of analogies and metaphors to pull from when I'm talking about, you know, even talking about the letters in the third book as being a type of, you know, an energy that has a set of different. There's a tuning. We've got different tuning forks. We can tune ourselves to grasp these forces, or talking about, you know, there's just so many great ways that I found when I look back on my life, all of these valuable things, certain disciplines that I've learned, different work ethics, communication skills, and how that's valuable to provide people with value, like especially people who want to learn about meditation. But yeah, you know, the music is great because that involves a lot of things I can relate to, things like the Hermetic principles and that, which is quite a popular sort of topic in the wider sphere. And so, you know, being able to relate these things together so you can, you know, people are looking for this stuff, but they don't know that they are. And sometimes I can find myself introducing people to the concept of like, well, here's a well laid out pathway and you can make sense of it, and it's very accessible. And yeah, I think the overlap is a really great way of looking at it, because this is how does your professional work inform. I think it's even how has my professional sort of career and my life story and my life history and what I've learned on that affect it, because it is a synthesis and a symbiotic relationship that's becoming itself as the timeline moves forward. And with that said, gentlemen, shall we call it an evening, or a morning in David's case? And I want to say thank you so much to everyone who's joined us, who's in the chat, who's been with us. There's been some absolutely wonderful comments and shows of thank you and appreciation, and that really means a lot, because, you know, obviously there's people who will interact with us now, and then people who will interact with us later on the replay and that. And as I go through and curate the content from this wonderful moment of time, and help to propagate this out more. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to just bring us back to the shared screen, and I'm going to give James and David a chance just to refresh us on their amazing set of offerings and what their works, their great works, and what they're doing. And we'll start with James, and I'll also whoops, not that one. Where is it? Screen share. I'll also ask for the gentlemen to maybe offer some words of encouragement, and you know, anything they feel drawn towards offering on exit as some final words. So James, you've got this fantastic website filled with works from many teachers. Is there anything you'd like to highlight?
I guess, I mean, we've got lots on there. The best thing to do would be to go to the free section. We have 9 courses, which are all free.
There's a free section.
To your right, Phil. To your right.
Oh, there we go.
There?
Free.
Okay.
Needs to be
Yeah.
free in capital letters, brother. Come on, man.
And so you've got everything covering, from Andre, from Bob from 60 Skills, Chris, amazing martial artists. You got Clint on there. So really, really, really good stuff. We got some other internal martial arts people on there, Craig. So I would say, because people often say, "Oh, what should I do? I don't want to, do I want to spend this? I don't want to spend that." Well, don't. Just come on the free courses, enter all of them, go for all of them, and you're going to have a lot of material. You're going to have a lot of tools. And obviously, in addition to if you're working Franz Barden's path, you've got that. But here you've got, the free transformations is life saving.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's going to give you an experiential experience with the mental, the astral, and the vital, which can save people literally years. It really can. All of those courses in there are really good. I wouldn't have put them up otherwise. I don't want to waste anyone's time. So have a go at any of those. Join them. You have questions, pop over to the Perseus community, and you can ask a question, and people will, the very teacher that made that course can answer you. So yeah, lots going on over there. We have the letter quest at the moment, going through the letters, and we have other people working through other practices. So yeah, lots of free groups over there. We have the private groups for all of the paid courses, where there's sort of one-on-one teaching that goes on. And in addition to the community and the free courses, I'd say, check out our blog. I think now we have over 150 long form interviews now on the Perseus blog. We're racing towards 200. I think you'd have to, you can't get through it from there. I have to sort that out.
Come on, bro, what's going on here? No,
Just go to the URL and delete community, and you'll go to the. But you go to perseusarcaneacademy.com/blog.
Oh yeah, okay.
And basically, we have over 150 long form interviews. Some of these are 22,000 words.
Oh yeah.
Many of them are over between 5 and 10,000 words. People from the Barden tradition, people from like here we have Edwin Kelly, 50 years in Dhamma practice. We have people from all sorts of traditions, but people who have really put the years in, and genuinely nice people who want to share their experiences. So most of these are informational posts. They're experiential posts. They're not selling anything. They're not trying to sell you a course. Of course, we do have those, but most of these people are just sharing their experience, and they've kindly done that, sharing their breakthroughs and the exciting moments on their paths. So this is great. So I highly recommend people to dive into that blog. And I think that's all from me. Yeah, the other news will come in the next few weeks with Peter's new course.
Oh, thank you. And have you got any inspiring or encouraging words you'd like to share?
I kind of feel, I kind of get a bit cringy, because I'm not, I don't want to be here. I don't like the whole, the spiritual teacher or giving you wisdom. I haven't got any wisdom to give. I think the best thing to do is to live your life, and I feel be true to yourself, be as kind as you can to others, without being stepped upon and without being a doormat, and do your best. And that's all I would be willing to say, because anything else sounds like spiritual preaching.
Well, those are valuable words, and I'm grateful for you for sharing them, because, we've got some people in the chat who they're just grateful to have the space to hang out.
Be kind. Love dogs. Be kind to animals.
Dogs, love dogs.
All animals. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. But yeah, as for everything else, and I suppose as well within this spiritual niche as well, take everything with a pinch of salt. Don't take anything at face value. Until you've done the work yourself. That's why before I was like, I shouldn't have to motivate someone. It's like, you test it yourself. Don't believe people. It's great to believe good people, but if you believe the wrong person, you're gonna end up way off. So whatever I or others say, take it with a big pinch of salt, then go off and test it.
Good words, wise words. Thank you for that. David, you have an absolutely ginormous library that people can move into and probably never leave. Um, and yeah, here we go. Oh my gosh, yeah, like far out. I mean, this isn't actually the WordPress site either, but does this take us to the WordPress? Does it?
If you go to the main entrance on the left, go back to the Journeys tab again,
Yep.
and on the
Mainly.
left there, yeah. So yeah, just click that. So if you go there, scroll down a bit for me, Phil, you'll see that I've basically like categorized all of my articles into different sections.
Oh
So
yeah, cool. Oh, that looks
you
great.
can learn about different topics there, right? That are both related to both astrology and magic, and I've got one on magic itself. That's probably worthwhile clicking. Yeah, just click that for a moment so people can see what kind of stuff is there. So then you'll get like an introduction to my thoughts on this particular area of the archive. I call it the Archive of Mysteries, by the way. And then you can scroll down and you'll find links to all of the WordPress articles that I've written on the topic of magic over the last 13 years. And you can just click those titles and go directly to the WordPress
Wow.
blog, which will then load, and there you'll get my article on the tarot and how it relates to the Barden practice and various other stuff. Now, my articles are long, so you have to be a lover of reading. If you're not a lover of reading, I suggest like taking my articles, throwing them into Claude or something like that, and asking it to summarize them for you, because there's a lot of useful information buried in there in all of my wordage. If you also don't like reading, and it's not the kind of thing that you like to do, that's what the Patreon stuff is for now. Meeting the circle tonight. That's the $5 tier. So you could actually come to that tonight if you want. Meet me for an hour. Bring any of your questions. Ask me anything. That's what it's for. It's just an informal like chat, like a coffee group meeting for people interested in astrology and magic. So you can bring anything to that, and I'll meet you tonight for $5. That's all it is, and you get that meeting every month. So you can come back another month, another month, another month. All right. So that's the cheapest way to get to meet me personally. If you want to do that, it's very inexpensive. You also get a newsletter every month, which has got a ton of stuff in it about the next month's astrology and some magic spells related to the astrology in it. Sometimes I put those in. And if you want, you can come and meet me personally. Like go to astrovisions.org, the same place where you find the Archive of Mysteries, and just ask to meet me. Right? You can't actually pay for anything at that site. You can just request to meet me at that site, and then I'll figure out with you what I can do for you, and we'll have an email exchange and so forth. So I'm also offering people discounts on multiple sessions if they want multiple person sessions with me. So if there's something you want to really explore in depth, like a particular step or a particular exercise, and it's going to take longer than like an hour or two, then you can get a discount from me for multiple sessions. That's it, really. That's all I've got to say. Other than this, um, don't give up, right? Um, it's your birthright, okay? Um, it's everybody's birthright to eventually discover all of these things. And if you're interested in it now, then just do it now, right? Um, get it done now. And one of the things I guess I would like to pass on before I go, the only thing I've got really that I feel like I want to pass on right now for some reason, is what I learned about motivation and discipline in my practice over the years. I started out with a lot, like a hell of a lot of motivation, right? Like a lot of us do at the beginning of things. We're like, oh, I'm going to do this, right? Um, then you sort of realize that you do need motivation, but it's not enough. Your motivation is not what's going to get you through, because life is problem after problem. That's how it's designed to be, to challenge us and to allow us to grow. And one day you're going to wake up, you're going to have lost your job, someone you love has died, your dog is sick, you're just not motivated that day, right? You're going to wake up one day and that motivation is going to be flat and you're not going to want to do it. Okay. What helps you in those situations, and what I discovered to be more valuable to me in completing the course than motivation, was discipline, which basically means that even when I don't want to do it, even when I wake up on those days, I do something. Okay. So on those days when you don't want to do it, grab your discipline, right? And just do whatever you can. All right. Even if it's just a second of introspection, a few seconds of introspection, it's sand going down the hourglass and it's progress. And so long as you keep that up, discipline every day, do something every day, you're going to get there. It's inevitable. So discipline, A plus. Motivation, maybe like an A minus, right? It's still important, but it's not as important as the discipline. You need that more, and motivation will run out. It's natural.
More great words. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I think, excuse me, this is one of the beauties of sort of having these conversations is that we're going to just be real and straight up. I mean, like this is an ongoing process for me. I love this work. I want, people, I know that I've had to motivate myself or just discipline, show up and do it. Okay. And it's a challenge, but it's always worth it. It's always worth it. I think for me, what I really enjoy is just getting super peaceful. Once all the noise is settled down, the nervous system is relaxed, I just find it I set up a good environment, and that I find that it just tends to lead towards highly favorable outcomes. And then sometimes I'll go into really noisy, staticky environments and do some heavy lifting, and that's very satisfying as well. To my wonderful guests, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. Thank you for your many offerings, services, and your works. I'm so grateful. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to the people who are watching this after the fact. Thank you to all the platforms and the ability for us to actually even do this thing with the technology. I want to say anyone who's keen, you can go check out the new Bard in YouTube channel, which will be dedicated to these works, propagating and disseminating them out there so people can find them. And of course, there's the Phil Rice Substack, and you can go and see what I'm up to here. This is philrice.substack.com. But other than that, thank you everybody. I appreciate you all. If I could ask the guests to stick around for a moment, just once I finish the stream. Have a beautiful evening, beautiful day, a beautiful afternoon, wherever you are, and be kind to yourself. That's what I'll pass on. Just be kind to yourself. And you'll find that it's easier to be kind to others. I've found that personally. All the best. We'll see you guys again very soon. Stay well.